Hello and welcome back to day 2, and this is the second of the decorating videos. What I'm going to be doing today, we did pom-pom animals in the first decorating video, and what I'm going to show you now is basket weaving. So first of all we need strips to weave into basket work, and what I've decided to use, I did find some ordinary brown wrapping paper, which would have been perfect. It's the right sort of colour as well, unless you want to paint it sort of, I don't know, sky blue ginger or something. And then it occurred to me that you might not, I've got wrapping paper, but you might not have it, so then I thought again, and I thought actually, it's quite easy to just get hold of an old newspaper, and newspapers usually, they have a margin round top and bottom. So if you get your old newspaper, not one your dad's reading at the moment or something, and you cut this strip off here, and you can cut a strip off the top here. You have to top tip, because I've just made this mistake, line it up properly like that. I started cutting this and then it had slipped, so the ones at the back are actually very thin, much thinner than the ones at the front, but I'm going to try to use them anyway. So I'm just going to finish cutting these. I'll zoom the camera in a bit so you can see what I'm doing. So these are my sort of skinny bits at the back. Now I'm going to make sure this is properly lined up this time. I'm cutting through all the layers, so I don't have to cut each one individually. I'm just going to like that. Right, so that's one lot of strips, and I'm going to turn the paper around. Again, I'm going to just make sure, I should have made sure this isn't today's paper, I don't think it is. And I'm going to cut along the end here. And that way, we've got long strips which are kind of white, which are then easy to paint. Now I don't have any paint, so for those of you that do have paint, you can paint many colour, this sort of basket sheet, any colour you'd like. If you want to make brown and you don't have brown, then the thing to do is to mix red and yellow and blue together, and depending on the proportions in which you add them, you will end up with a nice either chocolatey brown or a reddy brown or a yellowy brown, which can be sort of like mahogany or oak or birch. Anyway, so these are the strips that we've got. I am not going to use paint, as I say. I'm going to use old tea bags. I don't have any instant coffee, but if you do have instant coffee, that is perfect. And I'll show you how to make that up later. But what you can do in the meantime is, if anybody has a cup of tea and they're using tea bags, grab that old bag and save it. I must have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cups of tea yesterday, which is ridiculous. Also, if you have brown coffee, keep the coffee grounds in the bottom of the cafetiere, and what we'll do is we'll mix it all together, make a really unpleasant solution, but make it really strong, and that will give you a sort of brown tint, which we can then use for this. Right, so first of all, let's set about weaving. I'm going to put basket work all around the edge of this crown. And I'm going to put a flap on the top so it looks like it's a basket that's been opened. Now, as you know, I don't have, I'll keep going on about it, I don't have much more cardboard in the house. So what I did this morning is I got my husband's box of cereal, there it is, and I have taken out the contents, which are luckily in that bag, and I've cut a flap which will go like that on top of my basket work crown. And there's my lid, and that's going to go like that. And then I'm going to fill this bit here with, I think, some flowers or something, and that will sit on top of your head like that. Anyway, all will become clear hopefully. Quickly tuck this back in the kitchen. Hope he doesn't notice. There we are. What's wrong with that? Okay. Right, so these are my strips. Let's be sensible now. This is the width I've got to cover. So how many strips will that be? 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do, I think, 4 strips. Can you see along like that? And I'm going to weave little ones backwards and forwards. Right, so let's start. 1. Will that go all the way around or will I need more? Oh, it's just not quite long enough. That's a bit annoying. Anyway, so what we'll do is I'll just make these a little bit longer. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, line them up like that. And then I think, oops, line them all up and I'm moving them all. So I think I'm going to just add a little bit on now on each one. Too much rather than too little, so because this is just the margin from the top edge or bottom edge of the newspaper, there's no right or wrong side to it, so you can just add it on like that. So that's 1. Right. The way to actually start weaving is you need to anchor one end. So what I've done here is I've just threaded my first short piece through, and then I have sellotaped all of it, so that piece and all the ends to the top, so I can pick this up and move it around and it just stays put. So just sellotape that to the table, that's going to come off, and then you start weaving all the other bits through, the short bits, and you do the first one, it doesn't matter which one where you start with, but you go under, over, and then the next one is the opposite, so it's over, under, and then it's under, over. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to carry on. I'm going to go all the way along here, and then I'll come back to you and we'll see how we're getting on. I'm coming back a little bit early because I've got about, I suppose, nearly halfway, and mine is sort of moving about quite a bit. So I just want to show you, if you just make sure you push them all so it's nice and tight. And then what I would do is, this is going to be the back, so just anchor a point here. So that holds that, and so all of this is now secure, and then you can carry on here. Right, I'm going to carry on and I'll come back when I've got to here. Right, I have finally got to the very end, and what we're going to do here is anchor this end as well. Now make sure that all the long pieces of paper are lined up, and try to get them, these long pieces, as tightly together as possible, and then stick it down like this so that they don't all come apart. And then what you're going to do is unstick this end from the table and turn it over. Oh dear, I've got a bit of red running through it, never mind. What we're going to do, just turn it back for a minute. I'm going to anchor the bottom edge so that that doesn't move. A long piece of tape like this, just on the bottom edge, like that. Because we don't want it, after all that hard work, we don't want it just unravelling as we move it around. Now, next I think we are going to attach it to the hat. So take the bottom edge, let's see where we go with this. We'll just fold that like that all the way around. In fact, I think we could probably, now that we've pulled little bits out, we could probably also put a bit of tape across the top edge. And then I'm just a bit concerned that if we don't secure it, as we move along, it will start coming apart. And that will be very, very, very upsetting. Don't like doing a lot of work and then finding it all come undone. Right. So I can sort of do what I like with this now. That's all very secure. Right, I am going to attach this to my hat, and I'm going to do that by literally, so I'm not going, where we've got one long piece here, our first line, I think that's the warp, the long one, and then the weft is the one that goes across. We're going to line the top warp up with the top of the crown. So we tape it on the inside, tape all these little bits in. Like that. You see what I'm doing? So just line this first warp thread up, weaving up, and then just fold the ends over. In fact, it might be easier if I fold them all the way around to start with. You can see where we're going with this. When you get to the end, you might find you've got a bit of an overlap. That's all right. You can either cut it or you can just go round on top of the other bit. I've just gone round on top of it. And then we're just going to join it there. So now I'm going to, it's easier if I hold this down like this. You see, like that. I can hold it with one hand. And I can tape it with the other, and then I can just roll it round. Try and straighten these up a little bit. Roll it, roll it, roll it. That's it. Fold them down. Hold them with one hand. This is like useful to have long edges, so that you've actually got space to hold it with one hand, and then your hand's not in the way for the sellotape. Fold it down, hold it with that hand, tape it. Whoops, get in there, stop messing about with that hand. And I'm going to go all the way around doing that. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is turn it over and do the same thing exactly. We're doing the same thing, but from the top. So I'm going to do all this now, and then we'll come back and have a look at our baskets. When you're doing the top part, it's actually, you can cut it a bit shorter because everything else is now securely in position. It's not going to move. Just makes life a little bit easier. So you can cut those bits off. Don't cut it too short because you've got to have enough to fold over. Just literally fold like that, straggle a bit there. And you can you see your basket work there? Very pretty. And then you can sellotape that down on the inside. I'm going to do that now, and I'll come back and show you the next bit. Now, I've finished this is the base of the basket, which is going to go on your head, that's your hat part. And now I'm going to do the lid, which is going to sort of sit like that. And the way I'm going to do is exactly the same, except it's a different shape. So what you have to do, again, I've cut off my strips from the newspaper. Now, I'm going to just sellotape my shape down so I can see where I'm going with this and how big I need it to be to cover the whole thing. But the technique is exactly the same. So you lay out your warp threads. I'm not sure I've got that the right way round. I think it's the long threads which are the warp ones and the weaving ones are the weft. So maybe this is right actually, because I'm going to use the other ones to weave in and out. So I'm just going to, I want these quite tight together. Just up to the top of the oval shape there. Line up so they've got a bit of space either side for a bit of a gap for folding over. I'm trying to sort of get it vaguely straight. Oh, that's a bit short, that's no good. Out you go. So now this piece is a bit longer. I actually cut these from the sides rather than the top of the newspaper because I knew this was going to be shorter. So, right, there we are. So that will cover one more. Push it all up a little bit so it's nice and tight. That will cover the whole shape. Now, as we did before, anchor one side and stick it to the table. Obviously not if this is your mum's or dad's favourite table and it's unprotected. You have to, make sure you've protected it first. There we are. And then you get your weft threads. This is a bit more difficult because it's a bigger area, and you can lift these now, so you go over, under, every other one you go over or under. Some people do this all day, making baskets. Extraordinary. Right, and then you jiggle it up and down like that. You see, jiggle, jiggle, jiggle until it's nice and snug in there. And then you take your next one and you do the opposite. So if you went under last time, you go over. And if you went over last time, you go under. Now, I've got to the end here, so I'm going to just pulling these in a little bit so they're nice and tight without too many gaps. And then whoa, that's a pretty heavy sellotape holder. I'm going to just put a bit of sellotape down on this side just to hold them in place so that while I pick it up, I don't have it all come apart in my hands. Right, that's that. Now, I'm also then going to, actually I'll put some across here as well, just to secure it. That's that. Right, now I can pick the whole thing up, and I know it's going to stay in one piece. And the bit with the sellotape on is the wrong side, and this is going to be the right side. So now let's turn that back the way it was. So this is the wrong side of the sellotape. Here is the shape I want to cover. I probably don't need to have shredders showing, so I'm going to put that face down. Use the same sellotape on there, and I'm going to just secure it in place. Actually, I need a small piece of tape for this. Just secure it in place here so this doesn't wiggle about. Now, what I want to do is to bring this over so that it goes round. So here it is flat, pull it over just a little bit. And the next bit, pull it and just pleat it a little bit there. And then just take that down. Right. Hold this bit in your hand. Pull that. Pull them across. And it will just pleat a little bit there. Fold. One bit goes over the top of the other. Carry on all the way around, and I shall come back when I've finished. So Used tea bags, not great. I've dried this off with the hairdryer though, and I have made some fresh tea. Literally, I put 2 tea bags in here, fresh tea bags, and I put a tiny amount of boiling water to make this a really, really strong solution. And look, hey presto, it actually comes out a really nice colour. I've dried that bit, so I'll just paint over this side. And obviously, if you paint over it a couple of times, you could take it possibly even darker. I'm assuming it will go darker the more coats you do on it. So I'm going to just do that so that they're all roughly the same colour. I'm going to paint the baskety bit, and then I can revisit that and put another coat on if necessary, if it's not dark enough. But I quite like this colour. I think that's rather nice. I'll be very interested to see, those of you who've got instant coffee, what that comes out like. Because I think that will be not quite such a yellowy brown. I think that'll be a darker brown. But if you've got instant coffee and you're doing this, show me. Alternatively, obviously, if you've got paint, even better. You can just, well, not even better, just different. You can paint, and you can do it blue, green, yellow, whatever, pink, whatever takes your fancy. Right, so that's that. I'm going to leave that to dry. And here it is, nice and dry. And the last thing I'm going to do to it on this video is to hinge the lid like that. And in the next video, I'm going to show you how to make some flowers to fill it, and then how to fit it on your head. So I've got some of this tape, and I'm just going to, this is the back, I'm just going to press that on the back so that it's half on, half stiff up. And then again, because it's a curve and I want it to open and close nicely, I'm just going to snip down like that. And I'm going to get my lid, and I am going to, probably easiest to do this if I put the lid down like that, stick my fingers to these bits, line it up where I want it, and then press that bit of tape down. That's it. Like that. You see? And that way, beep-o, you can have a talking hat, or you can have a hat which will be a hat full of flowers. And I think what I might do is just make a handle perhaps to go over the top as well, but we'll do that in the next final video on this hat.